Hi, this is Imre Galambos, Professor of Chinese at Cambridge. This video is about why learning languages is useful. Most of us have gone through years of language learning, and it hasn't always been a pleasant experience, especially if it involved exams and grades. But anyone who manages to reach a level of competency in another language or several other languages will tell you that this is a life-changing experience. Knowing other languages, without question, changes your life. It is almost like having a superpower. So if you're thinking about learning another language or having doubts whether you should start learning one, then this video may be useful to you. So stick around. Oh, but before that, please remember to subscribe and click the like button. That apparently helps the channel. Language is one of the basic facts of the human condition. It is undeniable that language is essential not only for society, but also for the individual. It is not only a tool for communication, but the very fabric of our thoughts, a system that allows us to think. It is the operating system that runs our cognitive processes. At the same time, language is also very personal and intimate. It's deeply connected with our emotions and is a major part of our identity as a person. In addition to our physical body, it's one of the most important things that makes us who we are. Now, with language, we acquire a set of cultural and behavioral norms particular to the group of people who speak that language, and these are likewise part of our identity, and they are also different from the norms of people who speak another language. And so when you learn another language, you're also learning those other norms and behavior patterns, which may even be somewhat similar to yours, but also in other aspects quite different. And it would be yet again completely different from another group of people who speak yet another language. Some cultures or subcultures are more alike and others are less. And even among populations who speak the same language, there might be enormous differences. But these are also often connected to different ways of speaking that language, that is, to dialects or accents. In my own experience, being able to speak another language is almost like having a chance to live another life. I get to experience how other people think and behave, which is very difficult without speaking the language. I find it thrilling to be able to live this other life, to understand other perspectives, other ways of thinking, other cliches and cultural stereotypes that are inevitably part of the identity of individual groups. This is perhaps the most intoxicating aspect of speaking another language. It is a window to a new world, which is not only close to you, but outright invisible if you don't speak that language. We should of course remember that speaking a language is not a binary thing. It's not like you either speak it or not. But there are many grades and shades to it. And your journey towards mastery, or forgetting if you're moving in the other direction, has many stages along the way. And at each of these intermediary stages, your experience will be completely different. When you continue improving your command of a language and become increasingly fluent in it, your experience of this new world will start to gain resolution. It is a bit like starting to play video games that have higher resolution or watching movies on an HD screen. So the adventure of experiencing this other unknown world is without question the most exciting aspect of knowing other languages. Of course, you could argue that we all live in the same physical reality, unless you spend your time in the Matrix or the metaverse, and so the world around us is the same. But this is only true on the most superficial level, because we each experience the world differently. And our experience is predetermined by our cultural and linguistic background. When I was a teenager in Hungary, for us, the main points in the outside world, that is the world beyond Hungary, were mainly the USSR to the east and Austria to the west, plus the other communist countries of the Eastern Bloc, which we knew quite well. This worldview was also reflected in the languages we had to learn. Russian was mandatory, this was part of our colonial reality, but then most people who spoke a foreign language spoke German, which was a residue of Hungary's former links with Austria. Britain and America were very far, and for us children they were largely invisible. This is of course entirely different now. English has become the #1 foreign language. Teenagers are exposed to it on a daily basis through popular music, Netflix, the internet, and YouTube. They prepare to go to universities in the UK and in the US and try to get jobs at large multinational corporations. Myself, after having spent most of my adult life living and working in an English-speaking environment, I gradually got used to the worldview that comes with this language. But when I had a chance to stay in France for almost a year, I was pleasantly surprised how different the world of the people around me was. I suddenly saw that many of the people I personally knew had friends and relations in places like Canada, Senegal, and Tunisia, and they were booking holidays to places like Vietnam and the Seychelles. Their connections around the globe were completely different, and the fibers of their networks were following different patterns from what I was familiar with. Contacts with French-speaking regions and countries were much closer and much more frequent than with other places. Of course, this was mainly due to the colonial past, but the important thing was that even though they were living on the same globe, their world was completely different. For me, this was an eye-opening experience that was absolutely thrilling. I was super excited to see the massive impact a language could have on how people experienced and perceived the world around them. I witnessed a similar thing when I spent a year in Andalusia in southern Spain. There, the connections were understandably much closer with Central and South America, and with Italy, Portugal, and France, but at the same time also with the Arab world. Again, this was an entirely new world that opened up to me while I was living there, and I was mesmerized by it. So in general, in my experience, language creates and maintains a reality that is different from that of another language. Even though the British, French, and Spanish colonial fleets are a thing of the past, they had spread the language and administration and the whole colonial package, and much of this is still in place, and it sustains a network of post-colonial connections. But then there is, of course, a practical side to learning a language, and that is communicating with other people. With few exceptions, most people are happy when you speak to them in their own language. On the one end of this spectrum, we have the Chinese people, who are always enthusiastic when you speak to them in their own language. But then there are, of course, other nations, and I'm not going to name any, for whom speaking their language does not merit any special mention, unless you're not that good at it. In any case, when people are forced to speak a foreign language to communicate with you, they make an effort to conform to your norms. But when you speak their language, they let off their guard much more, and you get to see their real face, which is a more authentic or genuine face. And this, of course, is also very exciting. It allows for much more direct communication, which is beneficial in all areas of life, ranging from business to education to personal relationships. And then there are, of course, even more practical benefits, such as being more competitive on the job market, or being able to notice more business opportunities. But those are more obvious, and I don't want to waste too much time on them. So, to sum it up, learning another language well means that you're able to communicate with other people much more seamlessly and get to build contacts and friendships which would not have been possible without speaking that language. And you're able to talk to many more people, not just the 5 or 10% who speak a language you know. But to me personally, the greatest benefit is that you get to experience a whole new world which was invisible to you before. It is like having a superpower. It will open new dimensions you did not know existed. And I do think that you should definitely invest the time and effort to learn other languages and try to learn them well. So that concludes my thoughts about why learning languages is useful. Let me know if you have any thoughts on this or if there are related topics you would like me to talk about. Thank you for watching. See you next time.